There once lived a group of fishermen who spent their lives sailing across the endless blue waters of the Pacific Ocean. They knew the sea like the back of their hands, its patterns, its rhythms, and its temperament. But one day something strange began to happen. The ocean, which was usually cool and consistent in its behavior, started to feel warmer. Currents shifted, and unusual events started to unfold beneath the surface. These weren't isolated incidents. The fishermen soon realized this wasn't a one-time occurrence. They talked among themselves and noticed a trend. Every year around Christmas the sea would change. It was subtle at first but then unmistakable. They began calling this event El Niño, which in Spanish means the little boy, or Christ child, since it showed up near Christmas time. For the locals, it seemed like a divine gift, something that warmed the cold ocean waters during the chilly winter season. But scientists would soon discover that El Niño was no ordinary seasonal change. It was part of a much larger and more complex system that had ripple effects far beyond the coasts of Peru and Ecuador. It would take decades of study to begin to understand just how important this recurring event was to the entire planet. Over time, as more attention turned toward climate science, the significance of El Niño became clear. Just 2 weeks ago, the World Meteorological Organization issued a striking warning. The combined impact of El Niño and man-made climate change is likely to cause severe global warming within the next 5 years. While not guaranteed, the odds are higher than ever that this phenomenon, combined with greenhouse gas emissions, will push global temperatures to record highs. This isn't just about hot days, it's about real threats to our health, food systems, water supplies, and the stability of our environment. Interestingly, this global realization all began with something as small as an anchovy. In the 1960s, the Peruvian coast was alive with fishing boats bringing in thousands of anchovies every day. These fish were not only a dietary staple but also a major economic lifeline for communities that struggled with farming due to the region's dry climate. But in 1972, something terrifying happened. The boats came back with empty nets. Fishermen who had long relied on these bountiful catches found the waters eerily quiet. The seabirds, who also fed on the anchovies, began dying. Something had gone wrong. The fishermen observed that the ocean was warmer than usual. Other fish were around, but the anchovies had vanished. The air felt humid, the skies were overcast. It was unlike any season they'd seen before. Locals recognized these odd patterns as something they'd seen every few years and named the phenomenon El Niño. Today we know El Niño as a crucial element of a broader climate system called the El Niño Southern Oscillation, or ENSO. And it doesn't just affect anchovies, it impacts weather, food, and ecosystems across the globe. To understand why anchovies disappeared during El Niño, we need to dive into the ocean itself. Imagine being one of those tiny fish, swimming happily in the cold, nutrient-rich waters near the Peruvian coast. Life is good because of a process called upwelling. This process works like an elevator, bringing nutrient-packed water from deep in the ocean up to the surface. Winds from the north push the warm surface water away from the coast, allowing the colder, nutrient-filled water to rise and support a thriving food chain, from phytoplankton to zooplankton to anchovies. But when El Niño hits, everything changes. Wind patterns shift dramatically, disrupting the upwelling process. The nutrient elevator breaks down. Warm water starts to pool along the coast, and the anchovies, sensitive to temperature and their food sources, get confused and disappear. Fishermen return to the same old fishing spots, but the fish are gone. And with them, an entire economy suffers. For people who love anchovy pizza or Caesar salad, this means shortages. But more than that, it reveals just how interconnected everything is. A shift in wind patterns in one part of the world can ripple outward, affecting food security and livelihoods across continents. This delicate balance between ocean and atmosphere is like a giant game of Jenga. One misplaced piece and the entire tower becomes unstable. El Niño serves as a reminder of how easily our climate systems can be disrupted, and how significant the consequences can be. That's why it's essential to understand not only what El Niño is but what it means for the future of our planet. Scientifically, El Niño is defined as a periodic warming of sea surface temperatures in the central and eastern tropical Pacific Ocean. These unusually warm ocean conditions have the power to shift weather patterns globally. In Australia, for example, El Niño has been associated with both devastating floods and catastrophic bushfires. It's closely monitored because predicting El Niño events can help governments and communities prepare for sudden and severe climate changes. Take the Black Summer of 2019 to 2020 in Australia. Although the El Niño that year was relatively weak and the waters in the eastern Indian Ocean were cooler than average, these conditions still played a role in intensifying bushfires across the continent. This shows that even mild fluctuations in ocean temperatures can lead to extreme weather events. It's not just about warm oceans, it's about how that warmth interacts with every part of Earth's complex climate system. Now, consider the latest report from the World Meteorological Organization. It's both bold and deeply concerning. Within the next 5 years, it's likely that global temperatures will reach unprecedented levels due to the dual forces of El Niño and human-caused climate change. Specifically, there's a 66% chance that at least 1 year between 2023 and 2027 will experience a temperature rise of at least 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. And there's a staggering 98% chance that one or more of these years will set a new global temperature record. This level of warming isn't just a number, it comes with very real consequences. It affects everything from agricultural productivity to the spread of diseases, from water scarcity to displacement due to extreme weather. El Niño, while natural, acts like a magnifying glass, intensifying the heat already being driven by greenhouse gas emissions. The WMO's Secretary General, Terry Talas, has warned that we must brace for the fallout of this dangerous combination. Arctic regions, in particular, are expected to warm 3 times faster than the global average during the next 5 winters in the Northern Hemisphere. The result? Melting glaciers, rising sea levels, and shifting weather patterns. Rainfall will increase in some regions and dry up in others. Ocean acidification will continue to damage marine ecosystems. And unless drastic steps are taken, things will only get worse. That's why the Paris Agreement remains more important than ever. Its central goal is to keep global temperature rise well below 2 degrees Celsius, with an aspirational target of 1.5 degrees Celsius. But we're dangerously close to crossing that threshold. If we go beyond it, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change warns, the impacts will be far-reaching and irreversible in many cases. So what can we do? It starts with action, individual, collective, and governmental. Every ton of carbon dioxide we prevent from entering the atmosphere makes a difference. We must transition to cleaner energy sources, invest in climate-resilient infrastructure, and protect the most vulnerable communities. The science is clear, the warnings are loud, and the time is now. El Niño may be a natural part of Earth's system, but when mixed with human activities, it becomes a global wake-up call we can't afford to ignore. But the story doesn't stop with El Niño. There's another half to this natural equation, and it's called La Niña, the little girl. While El Niño is associated with warming of the Pacific waters, La Niña brings the opposite effect, a cooling of the ocean's surface. Think of it like a climatic tug-of-war where the Pacific flips from a warm phase to a cold one. When La Niña arrives, the trade winds, those persistent east-to-west winds across the equator, get stronger. This pushes warm water westward across the Pacific, allowing even more cold, nutrient-rich water to rise up along the South American coast. It's like upwelling on steroids, and the anchovies absolutely love it. Fishermen cheer as the oceans brim once again with life. But while the fish thrive, humans around the globe often face very different consequences. La Niña doesn't just mean a good season for seafood. It has far-reaching effects on global weather. In the United States, for example, La Niña is often associated with colder and wetter winters in the north and drier conditions in the south. In Southeast Asia and Australia, La Niña can bring intense rainfall and even devastating floods. In contrast, El Niño can lead to severe droughts in the same regions. These two phases of the ENSO, the El Niño Southern Oscillation, are like two sides of the same unpredictable coin. One brings warmth and dryness, the other brings rain and chill. And the shifts between them can throw global systems into disarray, from agriculture to public health to disaster response. Now let's pause and imagine Earth as a giant, interconnected system. A small change in ocean temperature off the coast of Peru can eventually influence storm tracks over the United States, monsoons in India, or even bushfires in Australia. That's the butterfly effect in action. It's why meteorologists and climate scientists pay such close attention to the Pacific Ocean, because what happens there doesn't stay there. With satellite data, ocean buoys, and climate models, they try to forecast when an El Niño or La Niña event might occur, and how intense it could be. These predictions help governments prepare for everything from food shortages to flooding disasters. But even with our most advanced tools, predicting the exact behavior of the ENSO is still a major challenge. In recent years, these challenges have become more urgent. Because now, we're not just dealing with natural climate patterns, we're adding human-induced climate change to the mix. Greenhouse gases like CO2, methane, and nitrous oxide are trapping more heat in Earth's atmosphere than ever before. This extra heat can amplify the effects of El Niño, making droughts more severe, wildfires more frequent and heat waves more intense. It's like taking an already unstable system and shaking it even harder. Climate scientists now warn that as the planet warms, extreme ENSO events could become more common. That means stronger El Niños, harsher La Niñas, and more unpredictable weather around the world. You might be thinking, what can we do about something so massive and global? It starts with awareness. Understanding the science behind these phenomena gives us the power to act, to prepare, to adapt, and most importantly, to reduce our own impact on the climate. Governments, industries, and individuals all play a role. Reducing carbon emissions, investing in renewable energy, protecting forests, and adopting climate-smart agriculture are all part of the solution. But time is not on our side. The next few decades will determine the course of our planet's climate for centuries to come. And that's why El Niño and La Niña are not just scientific curiosities. They're warning signs, reminders that Earth's systems are delicate, dynamic, and deeply interconnected. One shift in the ocean can trigger a cascade of consequences across the globe. 1 degree of warming can tip the balance between stability and chaos. These aren't far-off concerns. They're happening now in real time, shaping the weather you feel and the food you eat. So the next time you hear the words El Niño or La Niña on the news, you'll know, it's not just weather, it's a signal. A signal that it's time for us to listen to the ocean, to the atmosphere, and most importantly, to science.